Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 11 and the final part of the Airfix new tool 172 scale Vulcan build. Last time I weathered the airframe and got all that finished, and since then I've given the model a coat of Alclad varnish. That's the light sheen Alclad varnish, and that's just given the sort of effect that I want. I don't want a fully matte surface on the model, so that's given a finish somewhere between a matte and a semi-matte finish. So this time, as I said, we're going to finish the model off, and that really involves work on the underside in the main. We've got the undercarriage to build and fit, of course. We've got the bomb base to finish off and the bombs to make up. We've got all the radar panels to mask off and paint. I'm not going to be using the Airfix decals for the radar panels. We'll paint those instead. We'll give a better effect doing that. We'll do the jet pipes and finally fit the last bits and pieces with the aerials and so on and get the model finished off. So we'll bring the camera over and get those bits and pieces made up. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is build the jet pipes up. I've already done the port side, which is the number 1 and 2 engines, and these are 200 series jet pipes. They're much longer than the 301s, but Airfix do provide both in the kit, so you can see the 201s that I've built up versus the length of the 301 jet pipes here, which will be going into the spares box. Both options in the current boxing of the Airfix kit have 301 series jet pipes, so the instructions show you how to build the shorter ones but not the 201s, so we've got to just work that out for ourselves. So we'll cut these parts out for the starboard jet pipes. So just clean up the sprue gates on these parts and make sure that all these pipes are perfectly clean, because I found that the fit is quite tight, so the part has got to be as intended. We don't want any little stubs. So the way I approached these was to glue the jet pipe into the top panel, which is this section here, and there are a couple of keys here on the jet pipe which goes into the corresponding slots on the top. Airfix number all of these parts, so this is number 3 engine, and there's also a corresponding number of notches in the actual jet pipe, so that's number 4 engine with the 4 notches on it. The next 2 parts here wrap around the assembly, and again Airfix have numbered these up. They've engraved the numbers 4S and 4P, so number 4 engine, port and starboard, and these parts wrap around the assembly like that. That's why it's so important to get the correct part for the correct jet pipe. I'll just set those aside for a moment and then we'll give them a good clean up. The next assembly are the bombs. We've got 3 racks of 7, so 21,000 pounds altogether. I've built 2 of the 3 sets, and I'm going to leave the bottom stick separate for painting. Just make it easier to get those cleaned up and painted by leaving them separate. And then once they're painted, I'll just simply glue the 3 and the 4 together like that. So again, I'll do the last one in the set. So the way that Airfix have moulded these sticks of bombs means that they're quite difficult to clean up, and the masking will be a bit of a challenge as well. But actually it's not as bad as it might first appear, because as you can see, the lower group of 4 bombs is virtually covered up by the top row of 3. So all I need to do is clean around the sides of the bottom stick where it's likely to be visible, although even then it's tight up against the bulkhead of the bomb bay, so probably we're not going to see a lot of these lower bombs. So they just need a little bit of a clean up on the outside faces of them. Don't have to worry about the inside ones. These will get a coat of primer just to make sure that I've caught the obvious joins in the assembly. I can't get the sander in here to clean up these groups of 3, or at least the inside ones. So I'll just have to hope that scraping the join like that with a sharp blade will be enough to just clean them up and get rid of the join line. It's at this moment, when you're doing all this fiddly cleaning up, that you start to think it might have been better to go for the blue steel option. But I never saw an aircraft with blue steel, so I'm going to persevere with the bomb racks. There we have 3 racks, 21,000 pounds of bombs, ready for some primer and painting. Okay, the last main assembly is the undercarriage, and you remember that I built the legs a couple of episodes ago, I think, when I was doing the underside painting. I just wanted to stand the model on its undercarriage to avoid damaging the underside paintwork. So the legs are all put together. So if you want to refer back to that assembly, because I did do some modifications to the braces at the top, there's a link at the top of the page to go back to that video, so you can just look back at that assembly and see what I did with it. But the rest of the job now is to cut the wheels and clean all those up, and there are a lot of wheels on a Vulcan, so 16 on the main gear and a pair at the nose gear, so we've got 18 wheels to paint up and clean up. So I'll have to spend quite some time cleaning these wheels up, getting rid of the seam lines, and as you can see there's a lot to do, so I'll come back when that job's done. It's probably going to take me a good half hour to clean all these up. So I'll see you on the other side. Having glued the pairs of wheels together, I can now clean them up as a pair. It just makes life a little bit easier to clean up, and they're a bit easier to hold as well if you do them in pairs like this. Quite a while later, with all the wheels cleaned up, that's what the undercarriage will look like. So with the wheels all cleaned up, we can prime the assembly and get the painting done on those. I've put a coat of primer on these now, and in the main there's not an awful lot of work to do on them. The primer's shown up 1 or 2 little errors, bits of seam line to clean up, but the exhaust nozzles have come out really nicely. All the seam lines have cleaned up on those, so there's no more work to do on those apart from painting them. The undercarriage as well just needs a little touch up here and there. There's 1 or 2 gaps in the actual legs that need to be sorted out, but they can be painted up. The nose gear is also ready to go. The bombs need a little bit more work. It's difficult to see what's going on in bare plastic, but as soon as you get the primer on, it just shows up one or two little areas to sort out, but they're not too bad. And I'll really concentrate on the stick of 3 here, because they will be seen there on top as when you view the bomb bay. But the ones underneath, the stick of 4, as we've seen before, is pretty much covered up by the upper bombs, so I'm not going to fret too much about those. I'll just go around with a little bit of wet and dry just to capture the areas that I've missed when I assembled the bombs first off. I think they'll be alright once they're painted up, and I think there are some decals to go on those as well. Okay, we're on to the undercarriage now, and I've already fitted the starboard main gear and the nose gear. The fit of these legs is very, very tight, so I've had to make some modifications to the legs themselves. And the first thing is to put the rear door in place. That has to go in before the leg is fitted. And then with the leg itself, I've actually had to trim the tab at the top. You can see where the paint's been removed, and that just thins the location tab down a little bit. And I've also taken some material off the sides of the legs, and that's to enable the leg to go past the opening in the undercarriage bay here. Without taking that bit of material off, it's just too tight. I couldn't get the gear to fit in. But having done that, the fit is a little bit better. So I'm attaching this with some super glue. This is medium CA, just into the slots. I'm not going to bother with the front braces yet, and it's a case of manoeuvring the leg into position. It's very, very awkward to try and get the front retraction gear in first. So there's lots of cracking and very unpleasant noises going on. But eventually it will click into place. And then a little bit more glue on the undercarriage bay roof, and that enables us to just locate the retraction gear. So those undercarriage legs are very, very tricky to fit, and I couldn't get them to go anywhere near without doing those little modifications to the tops of the legs, just trimming the tabs a little bit. But once they're in, they're nice and secure. It's just that the design makes the fit quite difficult. Time to put the wheels on. These have just been airbrushed in Tamiya's sparkling silver, and some rubber black for the tyres. Can fit the main gear doors. These have got retraction jacks on them, but I'll fit the door first. The retraction jacks are two different lengths. The short one goes forward, with the nose gear doors. We've got a similar problem that we had with the main undercarriage legs, in that it's too tight a fit here along the side of the leg. So to get the door to fit, I've just removed a little bit of plastic at the front, just so that the door tucks into the side of the leg and it gets a decent fit. Next up, I've got the Bombay doors, and these are such a tight fit that I'm not going to apply any glue to these. You can hear that they just clip into place really. Masking all these radar panels just enables you to put a bit of shading onto the panel, so you don't have the stark look that the Airfix decals would give you. And that's more in keeping with the photographs that I've got of the aeroplane. This is the style of nose that I need for this particular aeroplane. It's got the terrain following radar pimple on the front and the in-flight refueling probe. Airfix provide most, if not all, of the options that you'll need for the different fit outs on the nose. So just adding a little bit of detail paint into that. This is the boarding ladder which fits on the access hatch. So with the aerial fit on a Vulcan, you've just got to be looking at your references all the time. The fit did alter over time on different aeroplanes. So just make sure that you're getting the right configuration. But fortunately, Airfix do provide all the aerials, the blade aerials and the whip type aerials that you need to cover most eventualities. Certainly there's the right configuration for the ones that I want. Nearly there with this one. We've got to just put the jet pipes in. Okay, we'll load the aeroplane up now. And the bombs have all been painted up and the decals applied. Rather than mask up and spray the bomb carrier, the white carrier, I've just gone and painted that with a brush in gloss white and finished the whole assembly off with a coat of matte varnish. So that's a lot easier than trying to mask up all this area. It would be quite complicated to do that. And I didn't want to risk damaging the decals. So that's much easier, and the finish is just as good if you are careful with the brush painting and give it a coat of varnish afterwards. Then you won't have any problems with that, and that's just much easier to build it in that way. We'll just fix that with a couple of spots of super glue. There's 2 location points on the stick. The next thing to do is to fit the ECM plates. That's these 2 pieces here. And again, you just need to check your references to see which ECM plates were fitted to the aircraft that you're modelling. These are the 2 that I need for mine. And obviously you need to get them on the right side. A couple of beacons here on the underside which are going to be painted red. But before that, I'll give it a coat of some really shiny silver paint. This is Tamiya's Lacquer Sparkling Silver. And then we can just touch the lamp in with some clear red. Okay, so that's the model all finished. Obviously we'll get some close-up photographs of it when we get to the end of the video. The last job is just to give the model an overall coat of modelling wax. This is Tamiya's modelling wax. I've had this for a long time now, but it's very difficult to get hold of, I think, in the UK at least. I can't remember where I've got this from. It's lasted me, as I say, quite a long time. And we just need a little drop. I use an old sponge like this. And just being careful to avoid all the aerials and bits that we can easily knock off. I just apply an overall coat to the paintwork. And that just helps protect a little bit against fingerprints and marking of the paint surface. It's not absolutely necessary, but I just think it helps smooth the paint out just for that final time and adds that coat of wax protection on the paint surface. It doesn't alter the paint surface, so it doesn't make a matte surface any glossier. Obviously we don't want that, but it just finishes the model off. Okay, so that's it. We're all done for this build. It's taken quite a long time really, especially for a 172 scale kit. But to be fair, I have been working on and off whilst I've been doing the Flower class Corvette, which has taken quite a lot of time to get to the stage that it has. The other thing about it, of course, as you've seen through looking at the other videos in the playlist, that it's not a straightforward build at all. And that's really down to the complexity of the engineering that Airfix have come up with on this particular kit. And also the problems that we've seen with various fit issues, and also the quality of the moulding has meant that there's been quite a lot of work to do to get the kit up to scratch. So I suppose overall I'm glad that I've finished with it really. I was getting to the stage where it was becoming quite a trial to get the model completed. But it is completed and it looks nice. It looks every inch a Vulcan. And of course it's an aeroplane that I've got some history with. So it's always a model that I've wanted to build, but I've never wanted really to tackle the original release Airfix kit that had a reputation for being difficult to build, especially around the intake construction. But I have to say that it couldn't have been much more difficult than this brand new release has turned out to be. So I hope that some of the issues that I've come across and tried to correct over the course of the playlist has helped those of you that are tackling the Airfix kit yourselves. I know that quite a few of you are in the process of building the model yourselves. So there are one or two little things that you can be doing just to make the build that little bit easier. And get a bit of forewarning about some of the issues that you're going to come across if you're going to build the kit yourself. So as usual, I'll be leaving some detailed photographs at the end of the video. It's a difficult model to film actually because of its size, so some close-up photographs will give you a better view of the finished article. So with the Vulcan finished, I'm now able to move on to the next aircraft build and a brand new playlist which I'll be talking about in a preview video in the next couple of days. We'll be looking at the kit that I'm going to be doing next and some of the accessory sets that I'm going to be using in that build. So look out for that preview video, as I said, in the next couple of days. So that's it for now. I hope to see you as usual on Friday for the next part of the Corvette build. In the meantime, everybody, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you in another few days. Bye for now.